Hello everyone. In this video we are going to look at the plugin Ninja Forms and how to create, edit, or otherwise manage the forms we have on the Palouse Coral Society website. So the first thing we're going to do is go to the WordPress dashboard here. And then we're going to scroll down to, well, we don't need to actually, it's right here, the Forms dashboard section. I'm going to click on that. And here you can see all of the forms that we've already created for Palouse Coral Society. And let's see, I'm just going to pick one of these to look at. Let's do the audition form. We'll click edit on that. And here's your form editing section. You can see on the left here we have all these buttons, and these are basically pre-built sections for this form. So in this column are all these sections we already have on the form. So each of these has a label, and when it shows up on the front end it will have a blank space for them to fill in all their details to complete this form. So in each of these there's some basic options, and once this pulls up I can show you those. So here's the label for the form, and I'm going to, for the sake of demonstration, pull up one of these forms on the front end so you can see what it looks like. Let's go to adult auditions. So here is our audition form on the front end, and you can see this here is the label of the entry, and right next to it we have our blank for them to fill in the details. And when we're in a form editing section, that corresponds to this here, the label, and this here is the position of the text box. So for these two up top, the first name and last name, the text is going to be left of the element, which means that the label position is to the left of the text box. And for these other ones, as you can see, most of them are set as below the element. So if we look down here at the preferred email, it says above the element. So the label is positioned above the text box. So there's a few different options you can do, and most of these are contained in just what button you select. So for the sake of giving you an example, I'll just click on this. This is probably the most common one you're going to use on this website. It's just the classic text box. So I'll click on that, and it should have added it. Here it is, right at the bottom. When you click on one of the buttons, it will just add this right at the bottom of your form, and then you can proceed to drag it up and down wherever you want this to be positioned. So I'll just leave that there so we can check out how this works. So I'll say this is going to be, say, address. We already have one on this form. That'll be the label. We can make this either above or left, or probably the two ones we're going to use the most. I'll just do above for this one. This is a placeholder text. What this is if you wanted something to show up in the box before they add anything, you could add something in that box, and that would do that. The rest of these are a little more complicated settings, but if you wanted this to be a restricted or a required, box for the person to fill in, it would add a red dot to the right of the box or to the left, and that would show your customers that that is a required text and it won't let you fill out the form unless you've added something in there. So that option is there. You can also add a limit to the number of characters that you're allowed to input, and all those options are there as well. And then in the advanced settings, probably not going to use a lot of this, but if you wanted to add some custom styling, you could do that there, or you could add a description which would pop up. Let me see if I have one of those here. This here I think is a description, so you can add some text, or this too as well. You can add some text next to your option and further explain what what you are asking your customers to fill in for these different options. Let's look at a couple other options here. I'm just going to remove this text box that I've added. We'll wait for that to disappear. Gone. So if you look to the right of each of these that we already have in this form, you can see what button I've selected to get this listed here. There's a lot of text areas. As you can see, there's some lists, and these are these multi-option one, these radio buttons. And these work fairly simply. Same idea with the label and position, except you have this further option here as a radio, which means it's going to be radio buttons. You can also make it a drop-down menu, which I believe we also have here for the state option. You can see there's a drop-down menu for that. So that option is available. You can also do checkboxes, which allows you to do perhaps multiple, I'm not exactly sure, but you do have a multi-select there as well if you need that. And here are listed all the options that are in this radio box. And we also have a submit button, and that's obviously just the button the customer will click when they're finished with their form. These are formatted fairly simply, and as you can see, to get this fancy formatting on this button here at the bottom, it's got that outline and the hover effect. I've just added these classes, and this corresponds to some CSS code that will give those buttons that style. If this was removed, it would look very basic. It would just be a square button with no styling. So if you want to add another button for another form, it'd be good to copy this code and paste it into the box on the next form submit button. So let me just check out one of these phone options, and you can see how these work. Again, very straightforward. We just have a label position, and for the phone we have something called an input mask, and what that does is it forces the customer to work within a phone kind of outline. So as you can see, it gives us these 3 lines with the dashes for the area code, and that's sometimes helpful. And that's where that option is. And some of these are built in with all their options already. So state, nobody wants to enter in all their states. So here they've already added all the states for you, and that will happen every time you click on the state button to the left up here in all your stock options. So again, fairly straightforward. When you build a form, you're just going to need to click and add each of these different options, or make your own in the case of a text box, and you can call it whatever you want. You can also add a line. That's what this HR tag is. You can add a line in your form, and I think we've got one in here somewhere. Yeah, that's what this here is. And you can just build a form however you want it to look and be arranged, and it's fairly straightforward. The other things you're going to want to look at here are the emails and actions. This is what you'll do after you've built your form or changed it or updated it. You can click the save button, and that will make those changes permanent. And you can then, I'm going to leave this page, go to the emails and actions section, and this is where the you have your options of where you want this form to go once it's been completed. And as you can see here, it's sending this to, I'll click edit on this. And this option is called Email Blue Squirrel Society. And you have all these options from name, from address, to subject. And the most important one here is the to address, because this is where the email will be sent with all the form data. The rest of these you can just customize what the email will look like when it comes into your inbox. It'll say from Blue Squirrel Society, and it'll be from this email address, which is the same one it's going to, which is fine, no problem. The subject of the email, and then this very important Ninja Forms all fields tag in the email message. And what this does is just pulls all the information that was submitted in that form and inputs it into this email. And the way you add this is just by clicking this Insert All Fields button right to the right over here. And if I click that, as you can see, it just adds that tag. but we only need one because we don't need to double the information in this email. So we'll just leave that the way it is, but just remember, if you're creating a new form with a new email confirmation, you're going to need to click this insert all fields, or else it'll just be a blank email, and that's no good. The other thing that's helpful here sometimes is submission CSV. If you wanted all the information to be also added into an Excel document or a CSV, it can be opened with a few different programs, but most people would open it with Excel. You can click that option, and the email will attach a CSV file with all the information in it, which is helpful for certain forms. So the last thing I'll check out here, actually let's go back to the email and actions, back to list, and we'll look at the confirmation message. This is fairly simple. All this does is when the customer clicks the submit button on the form, this message will then show up and the form will disappear, and it will say your form has been successfully submitted. You can customize this and have it say whatever you want, congratulations, or whatever you want to show your customer after they finish the form. That's important to have as well. So we've added one of those. The last thing we'll check out is the settings, and this has some basic display options for your form. The form title, obviously, and we've clicked display form title, which means that when we add the form to this page, this title will automatically show up, and that saves us a little work for adding an H1 tag or something like that. So we've got that selected, and I wouldn't bother with this. This is a little more complicated if you want to automatically add the form to a page. And then we've got a clear this successfully completed form, and that's when the message will show up. And those two are basically the same there. And restrictions, we can here, this might be useful if you want to limit the number of submissions for this form. Say you only want it to be able to be filled out 10 times or so. You can add a number there, and that will make sure that only 10 of those forms are submitted before the form is removed. And you can add a reached message for as soon as that form has been submitted that number of times, it'll bring up a message and say, hey, this form is maxed out, we can't take any more submissions. So those are all helpful options. The last thing we'll do is go into the main forms section, and if I had just created a form, it would show up right here at the bottom. But what we need to do now is actually add the form to a page. And to show you how this works, I'm going to actually edit this page and show you how this form is showing up here. So I'll click Edit, and we'll pull up this page edit dialog. And here we've got two columns set up on this page, and that corresponds to these two. So I'll click this Edit button on this text and scroll down, and as you can see, it just says Ninja Forms ID 5 in the content area. And Ninja Forms ID 5 is also shown up here in our forms dialog, and that means that it's pulling this Palouse Squirrel Society audition form and using this short code to add that form right into this page. So if we wanted to add any other forms here, we could do that by simply copying their short code that's listed right here. So if I wanted to add the children's choir application, I would just copy that code, or I can just manually type it in if I wanted to. And wherever I wanted to add that in my site, I just need to copy that short code in there, and it will sling that form right into that page, and you'll be all set to go. And once again, if your options are set for an automatic title, it'll show up your title right away, and all of your information will be there available for your customers. So I hope this video was helpful. Let us know if you have any questions.